good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching from. And when you're watching this video, it's Brenda Meller bringing you back for another slice of social media pie. This is my show where I bring on inspiring people to inform and educate you. That's where the pie acronym comes in there. And I am delighted today. It feels like forever ago that we booked this chat, Leah. The very one and only Leah Turner joining me today. Hey, Leah, how are you doing today?
Hello, it's lovely to be here. Yeah, it does seem like a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does. I was actually just looking in my
Was it
messaging
before
history.
Christmas?
I think it was. And I was looking back in my messaging history. We connected originally, it was in kind of the beginning of the pandemic, February of 2020. I don't know what it was, but you had a
Really?
post that reached me in the US, and I'm not sure if it was about the same topic we're talking about here today, because
I
this is
mean,
a
it
long
wouldn't be
running
surprising.
conversation. But we've got to know each other, through the pandemic, actually through Clubhouse, and then more interaction on LinkedIn as well. And I'm really delighted to have this conversation with you here today. And we're going to be talking about protecting women on LinkedIn. And guys, if you follow us, you probably know that we do some similar work in terms of LinkedIn strategy and coaching. But I don't see people as Leah as competition. I see them as co-opetition. And the more people that do the type of work that I do, that I can surround myself with, the more successful we can both be. So Leah, why don't you take a moment, tell us a little bit about what your business is all about, and then we're going to jump into this conversation.
So I very simply, very similar to Brenda, I help people and companies to get more from LinkedIn and build their personal brands, develop their content voice, and generate sales and leads and get lots of lovely clients and money. So super simple, really.
So a lot of positive opportunities on the platform, but today we're going to talk about maybe one of the darker sides of LinkedIn, unfortunately, and that is, some of the things that we as women have had to deal with. And the topic is protecting women on LinkedIn. And just to kind of kick this conversation off, I mean, I think in the last 24 hours alone, Leah, I've gotten a hello message, which, hello by itself, not an inappropriate word, but we all know where that conversation's going. And because we've been promoting this talk today, I've had a couple other messages come up that I've had to report to LinkedIn and block individuals. So unfortunately, some people don't get that LinkedIn is not eHarmony or any of those other sites. Is this a daily, occurrence for you as well? Or, is this something that's rare? What do you think?
So probably between 5 and 10 a day. Some days, other days just one or two. Some days, if I've posted a picture, a lot. And it will be not just in my messages, it will be my comment sections, it will be my email address. I'll get inquiries via my website. They'll go over onto my TikTok and leave comments, on my Instagram and leave comments. And sometimes they're reasonably harmless, and sometimes they are obscene, and sometimes they're just so weird that you feel a bit like not really sure if this person's okay because they're that out there and left field. So a whole range. And then there's been people who've tried to extort money from me, people who've threatened to kill me and threatened my son. So it's been a whole range of psychotic behavior, and yeah, it's just constant. And now I have to pay somebody to filter my messages for me. I've got a VA who goes through and gets rid of most of it for me now, so I don't even have to see it, because it got to the point where it was really starting to affect my mental health. There's funny ones, but then when it's that many times a day, all the time, it becomes exhausting. And it just gives you, it can really sort of dampen the positive way. I love LinkedIn, but it really dampens the experience when I'm having to pay somebody to deal with it.
Right.
Because people can't treat me like a respectable human being.
Right.
So,
And it seems, and I've been watching some of your conversations, and it seems like sometimes, Leah, there are people that are just, the account's like almost like a spam account. Maybe it's not even a real person, and they're just, obviously it's everything they're doing on the platform is inappropriate or borderline inappropriate because they haven't gotten caught yet. And then there's other people that are just, I'm sorry, they're dumb, they're stupid. They comment on your post, and one recently that we had an interaction about, they comment on your post with some comment about, this is not a turn on for me. And I can go back to his profile and see that he's done the same comments about several other women. you know, it's like there's the fake spam accounts, and then there's the people who just they should know better and they're not.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, the person in question literally commented on a video and he made a comment that was completely irrelevant to the video. The video had nothing to do with my tattoos, nothing to do with the way I looked. It was me giving some advice. And he just immediately decided to comment on my appearance and demand and tell me that I shouldn't be tattooed and that they turn him off. And there's a photo of him with his wife on his
right.
profile photo.
Mhm.
He's in Texas. I'm in the UK. He's like old enough to be my father. Why on earth would he ever think that I had done anything in my life to try to turn him on?
Right.
And why did I need to know the fact that how I look doesn't turn him on?
Right.
It's just a massive lack of self-awareness. But people like that, I agree. I think it's a lack of intelligence rather than trying to be offensive. I don't think he was trying to be offensive, this guy. I think he was just stupid, if I'm
No
completely honest.
filter, no sense of, you know, like I
Just
don't
a
I like
complete
and,
sense of self-importance that women are there to turn him on, and that's our only
right.
purpose in life. I think it was just a very narrow existence that he had, and maybe he hadn't been exposed to the world of women actually having independence these days. So I don't know. I might be making sweeping generalizations which aren't fair, but
Right.
you know, it's completely different from a guy that drops into my message with "Hi, great tits, lovely."
Right.
Like, that's a real personal, like, I am in your inbox right now to sexually objectify you and harass you, and I don't actually care how it makes you feel.
Right. Right.
And that's the biggest thing that I think. I don't know if it's an online thing. I don't know if people just have this lack of filter because they think that there's not a real person on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine how your self-esteem is tarnished when on a daily basis you're objectified and reduced to nothing more than how you appear. And I
Mm-hmm.
am a strong person, but
Absolutely.
it is draining. Like, it's mentally draining, emotionally draining, and I have to keep rebuilding myself. And you know, thankfully, there's far more positive experiences. But when people just constantly obsess about your appearance or your tattoos or
Mm-hmm.
the color of your hair or the color of your eyes, and that's all they're interested in you for, and it sounds like I'm going, oh, poor pretty little me. It's not like that. I don't mean it like that at all, because I know that looking a certain way also has its benefits when you're marketing.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know, I'm not stupid. I know that standing out has definitely helped me on LinkedIn, and it's definitely had its positives. But it's very hard to be taken seriously and to take yourself seriously when
Mm-hmm.
people constantly reduce you to the way you look,
Right.
and
Yeah.
refuse to look past that. And
Yeah.
it's not that many people, but it is difficult because you're immediately faced with this prejudice of, well, she's pretty, so she must be thick, or
Right.
she's tattooed, so she must be an attention seeker, or she's
Mm-hmm.
popular on the internet, so she's asking for this, or she
Right.
deserves it, and it's just part
Mhm.
of the territory.
Right.
Yeah, it
I've
is.
heard of Leah. I've heard of some women on LinkedIn. I've had conversations with people, and they actually do this. They change their profile photo to make a less attractive, an uglier photo of themselves. They use a less attractive photo of themselves, or less flattering photo, I should say, of themselves. And I've even had some women say, "I don't accept any invitations from men at all because it's happening so much that
Mhm.
I don't know if you know if this is for business purposes or if it's for some other purpose." So let's talk about, I mean, we're talking about, you know, protecting women on LinkedIn. What can we do? I mean, there may be people that aren't even aware of some of the basic techniques that we have at our disposal. So
Yeah.
can you help us understand that?
So the first thing that you can do if you get an inappropriate message in your inbox is that you can report it. And even if you're going to block that person, even if you don't want to respond to that person, I would urge people to always report it, because that's how LinkedIn's safety team will learn about someone's behavior. If they've got several marks against their account for bad behavior, it makes them more likely to take action. So
Mhm.
I would urge, even if you're going to block somebody, make sure that you've reported the message as inappropriate first. From my understanding, LinkedIn has like automation set up. So if you report a message, it will go via automation, who will then decide whether it actually was inappropriate or not. And so I think some words trigger, and it will automatically be deemed as inappropriate. But if they're much more subtle in their approach,
Right.
or don't use obvious words that might be deemed as sexual harassment, it won't trigger the inappropriate sort of alarm bells. And so you'll get an email through that says we deemed the message wasn't inappropriate, which is really frustrating, because if
Right.
you know that somebody is being inappropriate to you, but
Right.
they're coming back and saying, well, we don't think it was inappropriate, we're
Yeah.
thinking that some human being has just invalidated our experience, and it feels
Sure.
bad. But I
Hmm.
think I'm pretty sure it's automation. And then
Yeah.
sometimes you'll see that they'll go back and a human will review it and say, we've actually re-reviewed the complaint and found it does violate our terms. And they do the same with comments as well. So the first report will often be an automation. So do
That's good
always
to know.
report it.
So
Always, always,
if we
always
do
report
get
it.
that, if we report something and LinkedIn comes back and says, "No, we think it's okay," is there a link in that email that we can click if we wanna
Yeah,
escalate it, or what do we do
I'm
next?
pretty sure on that you can ask them to review it again. And I think that's at that point that a human being will look at it.
Okay.
Um, but obviously, this is all then we're putting in more time and effort to do it. But
Right.
I think if we're all grouping together to protect each other, then that is something that we should consider doing. Always reporting it. If you report, one of the things I would really, really, really encourage people to do
Mhm.
is if you get an inappropriate comment. For example, someone comments on your posts something about your image that makes you uncomfortable, and or you look beautiful or something like that, and you're like, who is this stranger? Why are they making this comment about me? Or I had one the other day where a guy said, oh, I'd love to get in those pants, like on a public post about my work. What I would love to see is for people to stand up for it. So
Mhm.
rather than just me replying to that saying your message is inappropriate, which I do, and you'll quite often see me say your comments makes me uncomfortable when it's completely inappropriate, and they'll quite often question their own, like, why did they say it? And sometimes it is just ignorance. They don't realize what they're doing and how it's received or perceived by others. So I would encourage, especially men, if you see men making inappropriate comments
Mhm.
on somebody's post, call them out.
I'm gonna
Because
change
these
that.
men,
So
like, hearing it from another man is often more powerful to them than a woman, because they clearly don't respect women because they've just spoken to us like this.
right?
So yeah, I would definitely encourage anyone to call it out directly. You don't have to
Yeah.
be offensive. You don't have to be confrontational. You can just be very matter of fact and say your comment makes me uncomfortable.
Right. Or that comment is not appropriate for this
Yeah.
platform, or
Well, that comment is not appropriate. You
right,
don't
that's
even
how
have to
it's not
say that it's
appropriate,
platform.
and I have seen this happen, and this was one of your posts. I think this was from last week, and I think it was the video that you mentioned, and you mentioned the guy was in the U.S., so that's kind of territorial. That's my place. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna figure this situation out, and I found the post, and I didn't comment back, because of the fact, and like we get nervous about this, right? I don't want the visibility of this person coming and attacking me. But what I did do is I looked him up, I found his company, I found the head of HR at his company, and I grabbed a link to his comment, and I messaged the person on HR, and I said, hey, you may want to give your employees some training on social media and awareness, because he's saying things like this inappropriately that could impact the image of your business. So for me, there's a way that we can directly, and that is, as Leah said, if you see something inappropriate, comment on it, help, because I think it does help a lot when you have community engagement supporting you. But I also think there's a backdoor way of doing it as well. If you don't want the visibility, you can find out other ways. And I think you and I have done this too, where if somebody is blatantly inappropriate on LinkedIn, I've seen this happen where I can see who our common connections are. I will reach out to my common connections and let them know what happened, give a link to the post so they can see it, so that they can report and block as well. Because to your point, you said it does help if there's more people than just the one person reporting the person, right?
Yeah, definitely. One of the other things I always notice as well, I'm drawing very close to my connection limit, so I'm policing who I connect with a lot more now, because you can only have, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a 30,000 connection limit, and I'm now nearing that, and I need to leave space for potential new clients. So people who connect with me now that there's really a very low likelihood that we're going to do business together, I'm a bit more like, probably not. So I'm a lot more restrictive now. But one of the things that I've been doing, at least for the last year, is if a man sends me a connection request, I see who the connections in common are. And if the
Mhm.
connections in common are all women,
Right.
I don't connect with them.
Right.
And it will be the same kinds of women. It will be lots of blonde women, or lots of women with tattoos, or lots of British women. And I'm like, nope. Because you know that there is no man on LinkedIn that is just, and we've got 40 connections in common, and every single one of them's a woman. And then you can go to their activity section. What have they been
Oh
commenting
my
on?
gosh.
And all of the likes are modeling agencies and girls in bikinis.
Right.
Like,
Right.
fine, they're supporting a business. But
Yeah.
then there's all sexy mama like underneath it, like, no. And I don't even just reject the connection request. I will then block them, because I don't want to receive another one. I don't want them commenting on my content. I just block them.
Do you try to report them too? I mean, what I'll do in that case, if I look at their activity feed, and the first one that I find that's a definite trigger, like liking a photo of a bikini clad woman, is one thing, but like adding a comment saying, "Wow, you are gorgeous," that one I think will get caught by the LinkedIn screening team, right?
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because I mean, if they're models in swimwear and it's promoting something, like, is it okay for them to make those comments? Because actually that's
That's their
what
business.
it's their business, and it's helping the visibility of that business. So I'm like, I don't really feel like that's necessary, because that isn't that woman posting a photo of herself. She's a product. She's not that woman getting sexually harassed. It's the company posting images of a model that they've used for the bikini. So if it was her personally posting those pictures, I'd feel affronted on her behalf. But as it's a business move, I sort of think, well, she's not reading those. This is not her receiving those messages. But if it's a fellow businesswoman who's receiving sexual harassment on her posts, I do report them when I see them, for sure.
Yeah, good clarification. And a lot of us, I mean, we have different businesses and different backgrounds. There's a woman I know here in Metro Detroit. It's a custom bra shop, and she has a business page on LinkedIn. And it's tricky because this is her business, how to support and promote her business, but not bring in the wrong type of engagement. She's trying to bring visibility to her business and what she does. But I mean, really what we're here talking about is, how do we protect women on LinkedIn that are dealing with this? And so far you've talked about reporting the comments to LinkedIn, blocking individuals. Let's talk about blocking a little bit. For those people who aren't aware, what does blocking do?
So if you block somebody, they can't see your profile, or they certainly can't see your profile if they're logged into their account. I believe that they can still view your profile if they're not logged into their account. So if it's a public profile, they still would be able to, but they wouldn't be able to interact with you from their own account. So they can't message you or anything like that. Blocking somebody means that you will no longer see their profile. They will no longer see yours. Their comments, you won't be able to see their comments. If they've made comments on your profile or anything on any of your posts, those comments will stay there, but you won't be able to see them or interact with them anymore. Other people will still be able to see them, which I think is a terrible move from LinkedIn. I think once you block someone, their comments ever would be invisible to everybody on your content. Because it's really frustrating if you block somebody and then there's an argument going on, it will send you a notification saying such and such has replied to this comment, but you can't see it because you blocked them, which is really frustrating. So I would say definitely, like, blocking them removes them from your vision at all. If someone tags them, you won't see a highlighted tag. You won't be able to click on it, nothing, and they won't be able to see anything that you post, anything that you comment ever again. So there is certainly a huge benefit to blocking people. That you don't ever have to experience them again. But there are, like we talked about before, there are certain circumstances where you can't block somebody, and usually that's where you've both attended an event. So if you've both been at the same event and you're still listed as attendees on that event, it won't allow you to block somebody. And I think it's the same if you're both in the same group. So if there's ever a situation where you're not able to block somebody, it's because you've joined the same group, or you've been at the same event, a LinkedIn event. So you have to go and remove yourself from the event.
So this is kind of tricky, because we're not trying to give the creepy guys loopholes to find so that they can't be blocked. But I mean, I hope, and we were talking about this in the pre-show, I hope someone from LinkedIn watches this video. I hope they're watching now, or maybe they're going to watch it in playback and share it along with their safety and security team, because it doesn't seem right that we would not have the ability to block based on, let's say, this event today. You and I are having this great conversation,
Mhm.
and if there's somebody that indicates they're going to attend this event, then you and I can't block that person.
Yeah.
Um, which then, they have the ability to continue to see our posts, our activity. We don't want to see them, right? So
Mhm.
let's shift gears and talk a little bit about, if you were to give a wish list to LinkedIn, to how can they better support and protect women on the platform. What else do you wish they would do?
I wish that they would be more vocal on the rules. I wish that there would be more in line with their behaviour. So, for example, when I was on the occasions that I've been harassed, I would like that there was more support to me to tell me what's happened. So, for example, they're sent a strongly worded email saying this behaviour is not tolerated on LinkedIn. This is what you've done. This is why it's not okay. And if you do it again, you will lose your account.
Mm,
Like, I don't believe in saying to people it's a one strike and you're out unless it's very serious. Like, there
right,
are circumstances where it should just be one stroke and you're out.
right.
But I think a lot of the time people, and I know that I might be giving them too much credit, but I think a lot of the time there's a big culture difference. So I am educated in the UK. I'm a feminist. I'm in my 30s, but somebody who was educated in the 60s or 70s in a rural part of America, who hasn't been around women who are as strong and independent as us, they have a different awareness. They have a different existence. Their culture is
Mhm.
completely different. And maybe the women do live more like the 60s and 70s, where they're more subservient to their men still. And so when they speak to me like they would their wife or the lady in the corner shop, I'm reacting based on my experience, and they're like, well, I don't really understand why she's so offended by it. So I
Right.
think that's one of the biggest problems on LinkedIn, is that culture clash,
Mhm.
because we're from such different environments. So I think that makes it really hard to police everybody under one set of rules, because we've got such different lived experiences. But I think if anyone's ever genuinely sorry and understands what they've done wrong and how it's impacted on someone, they have the opportunity to change their behaviour, which benefits everybody.
Mhm.
So I feel like there should be an opportunity to rectify their behaviour, maybe even an opportunity to apologise. But I think
Mhm.
the biggest thing is creating that awareness of what is and is not tolerated on LinkedIn. And I don't think there's enough. It's all there in the terms and
Right, that
conditions.
nobody reads,
But I feel like there needs to be something like a campaign from
Mhm.
LinkedIn
Oh, I love
themselves
that.
saying
Mhm.
sexual harassment is identified as this. This is what's going to count as sexual harassment on LinkedIn. And if
Mhm.
you're seen to be exhibiting any of these behaviors, you are at real risk of losing your account and you won't get it back.
Mhm.
And I genuinely think a lot of it is just lack of awareness and people not really caring and coming onto LinkedIn to just annoy people, sexually harass people, and then they log off and they're using
Mhm.
it like they would a dating app. They're not realizing that for a lot of us, this is our workplace,
Mhm.
and that behavior is absolutely not okay. And some of us do feel threatened,
Right.
and for them, it's like, oh, it's just me. I've done this to this one woman. It's no big deal. But when 5 other people that day have done the exact same thing to the same person,
Right.
it's ruins our experience. And there are women leaving LinkedIn in droves as a
Mhm.
result of it,
Yeah.
or
Which is
hiding their pictures.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because there's so much opportunity here on the platform, and going back to my earlier point, women who aren't connecting with any men, and there that could be job opportunities, those could be client opportunities, and but we're just acting out of the patterns of behavior that we're seeing here.
And
Wouldn't
men
it
say that, oh no, it doesn't really affect me, but actually it does
Right.
affect me, because Ken's in the chat. Hi
Yeah.
Ken. If Ken sends a connection message to a woman that he'd really like to work with, that he's seen post something that he found really interesting and he'd like her in a network,
Mhm.
and then Ken gets tarred with that same brush because she's had really bad experiences with men similar to Ken.
Right.
And so Kenneth misses out because of inappropriate behavior of other men. So men who sit there and say it doesn't affect us, well, it
Mhm.
absolutely affects you, because our biases are now towards connecting with women and not men because of the way men have behaved. But I have loads of male clients, and I feel like I don't want to be suspicious of men I'm connecting with.
Right.
But at the same time, I also don't want to have to put up with that anymore. So I can't win either way. I either risk harassment or
Right.
I eliminate working with men entirely. So
So let
it's
me ask you a question. Do you ever get the and going back to your statement about culture and background and how this can affect our perception or the communication itself. I get a message from someone on LinkedIn from a man and it says, "Hey, lovely." And then he goes on to say something else about, an article or something he commented on. But immediately with the "Hey, lovely," the hair goes up on my neck a little bit. And, and I in this circumstance, I might say, "Thanks for your question, thanks for your comment, whatever. Would you be open or can I share something with you? Would you be open to some feedback on your message to me?" So I kind of get that permission first and he says yes and I would say, "I'm just curious, would you address a woman or with a man with the same thing? Would you say 'Hey, lovely' to a man?" And his response back was, "Well, I'm from the UK and we use lovely as more of a sentiment, the way of sharing things, but um
exactly right. And I've had American guy who does a guy from the South who sent me a message saying, "Hey, little lady," and I was like, "Little
right,
lady," and I was fuming because I was like, in the UK,
yeah,
no one would dare call me a little lady. It's
right,
so
right.
demeaning. But he calls everybody in his life, every woman in his life, he calls a little lady. So I know Stella's just said in the comments, cultural difference isn't an excuse, but for me, someone calling me little lady, I was immediately like, don't you dare speak to me in such a condescending
Did
way.
you do you use that as a teachable moment to say, "Hey,
I may have
um
done previously, but not now. I just don't have time.
no
I mean,
time." Yeah.
if I tried to educate every single person in my inbox, I'd be paying my VA a hell of a lot of money. Like,
That could be a business, right? But the hard part is, like, people wouldn't pay for that. Like, they pay for LinkedIn coaching, but not, LinkedIn what
yeah,
not to do.
I have in the past, and if they happen to catch me in a mood where I'm like, do you know what, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But generally speaking, no, I don't, and not for any other reason that I just don't have the time. And honestly, I'm exhausted from it. I know it's part of being an influencer online,
Right.
but I that wasn't my plan when I logged into LinkedIn, and I've just sort of gone with the flow. And I'm very grateful for everything it's brought to my life. But I've never been PR trained or trained to deal with what comes with visibility on the internet.
Yeah.
So you just have to muddle through. And it's definitely been one of the reasons that I've started therapy, is to make sure that I'm mentally strong enough to deal with all of the stuff that comes with being visible on the internet.
Yeah.
And the main bugbear of it is men. And
Yeah.
I love men, don't get me wrong. I've got some incredible clients that are men. I've got some amazing friends that I've met on LinkedIn that are men. Andy and John in the comments, I've become really friendly with them, and so many others. And it's by no means am I saying it's all men, but the ones that it is really do screw it up for so many people. And it's other men as well as women.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And you were talking about comments. I want to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to pull up some of the comments and I want to just give huge shout outs to all the supporters out
Hi,
there.
Andy.
People like Andy, and I see Bobby has, a really important comment here as well. I think it's so important that this isn't just a conversation that we are having as women about how can we support each other and what are the techniques we can do. But I think it's also, can like you said, men need to police men. You need to call each other out on it. And sometimes I feel like there's this good old boys network where they're like, well, that's just what we say and that's just what we do. Well, if we keep allowing that to happen, it's going to keep on happening.
Oh, that's what it drives me crazy. Just block them. Don't make a fuss about it. Stop making a fuss.
Yeah, right.
Piss off.
No.
I'm
Well,
not staying quiet. Staying quiet doesn't change anything.
yeah. So, I mean, you and I have helped each other out with some of these situations. Is that a good approach to take? Like we as fellow women helping each other. And I don't want to say piling on with the reporting, but knowing what you said earlier, if I report it, it doesn't do anything. But if I get three other women who have had similar circumstances to report, then the account's kind of flagged. Is that an approach that we should take? If LinkedIn's not going to help us, do we need to take matters into our own hands? What do you think?
So two ideas popped into my head to handle it. And one of them was to start a Twitter where
Mhm.
every single inappropriate message
Oh, yeah.
is anonymized for who received it and goes out on Twitter, so other women can see these men that are worth reporting or blocking. Right, so like, they have the state of LinkedIn and LinkedIn flexes that are like big on Twitter, and they're horrible. They like make fun of everybody on LinkedIn. But if you had one, because on LinkedIn you can't publish a picture of somebody hitting on you or something, you can't have their name, because then you get reported for harassment and bullying, which is ridiculous.
Right.
If you stand up to sexual harassment and call somebody out, they'll penalize you for, and it's happened to me. I've had a couple of posts removed for it. That's
That
why I
is
always censor
insane.
their names now. That's why I
Wow.
always censor their names now. But that's not going to happen on Twitter, right? So I have sort of thought, if I had the time, I would just start a Twitter and like have a group of women running it. And so we just have like a group chat where everyone can send images and then share them on Twitter.
But
so
we
these
would
men
block
can be
we would
blocked
block
off.
out the names so we don't give them visibility.
No,
No?
because it's not on LinkedIn, so LinkedIn can't do anything about it if we put it over on Twitter. Right? Or the other thing was to start a LinkedIn group where it's just open for women to deal with, or men who are allies, and we share pictures in there so we can all mass block people. I don't know if that would be the solution, because obviously you're not going to get 400 million women in a group, but it would certainly provide some support. But again, I don't have the facility to
It's
run
the
it.
energy, right? Because I mean, you and
Yeah.
I, we each have 24 hours. We don't have 48 hours. We both have the same 24 hours in a day. So we can either use that time supporting our business, building our business, serving our clients, or it's like playing that game of tennis and keep batting back the insults and the inappropriate comments, and we can focus all of our time and energy there. And to your earlier point, it's costing you money. I mean, you have a VA who's helping with this now. You're paying them money to screen in and respond and reblock these people, right?
Yeah.
So it's just it's very frustrating. I'm seeing a lot of people tagging in folks from LinkedIn. Leah, I would love, wouldn't it be great if LinkedIn were to pull together a panel of women and have a conversation about what they can do to help support women with these issues? Because sometimes I feel, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like there's a group of engineers that makes the rules on LinkedIn. And I just wonder, are they incorporating user feedback? Are they talking to the people that the issue is affecting and asking for their input and understanding the scenarios? I mean, you and I, we know some of the processes, we know the loopholes, we also know backdoor ways of addressing these solutions. Why can't they? Why can't they at LinkedIn figure this out?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn, so I don't, this isn't me.
Same. I love LinkedIn. Absolutely.
I do feel that, you'll tag LinkedIn help into a post where you've had problems with somebody or a comment, and quite often they will make a public comment that pays lip service to the complaint. But then when you actually get talking to them, they're not going to do anything to help. So when I had this guy posting defamatory content and pictures of me and accusing me of things that weren't true, and he had no evidence of the crazy things that he was alleging, they got him to take it down, but they didn't ban him from the platform. And he's since gone on to be abusive towards several other women and men. I've had messages from people saying he's just commented on my post, he's just said this, he's just said that, and they haven't removed him. And this guy is on a campaign of hatred across LinkedIn, and he's not been removed, and no one tackles him. And it's just, it's just crazy stuff. I don't really know the solution to it, but I think LinkedIn should have a panel of women that are regularly affected by it, and have some proper feedback from us about what would make us feel safer. And even if it's just a pop-up when a man sends a message that contains certain words, and I know that they've started doing this, but I don't think they're doing it enough.
Right.
But sometimes it'll say, remember to keep your LinkedIn conversations decent. Not asking, I've had the amount of times people ask me for my WhatsApp number, like as if I'm going to give you my phone number to a complete stranger. Are you high? Like, I'm not just randomly swapping phone numbers with strangers I have no business interest in. And I think things like that should just be, a little text, like put up a great big bloody red banner that says, are you sure you want to send this message? Is this actually an appropriate message? Is this something that you would send at work?
That is
Would
a
you speak
brilliant
to your
point.
colleagues like this?
Because they can screen the words when we're reporting the comments, so they know the words that are coming in. So why can't they screen them on the way into the platform and not
Before
just
they hit enter?
right, right. It makes perfect
Don't know.
sense. You know,
I don't know. But
and
I
sometimes
do I do feel like they should receive like a flag to their account, like a, you know, if a message is flagged as inappropriate, maybe it generates an auto response from LinkedIn, from a
right.
LinkedIn account that says the message you sent was deemed completely inappropriate. Please remember that LinkedIn is a business platform, and you're discouraged from making comments that would not be appropriate in the workplace. And if you
Mhm.
don't adhere to our rules, you'll be removed from the platform. But I
I
do really think there needs to be a massive campaign that's
yeah.
anti-sexual harassment, and it doesn't have to be focused on women. It can
Mhm.
be generally to everybody, where they say, please, LinkedIn is not we understand that personal relationships may develop, but you're
Right.
not supposed to go seeking them. Like I'm not,
Right.
I met my boyfriend on LinkedIn, so it's not like I'm against the idea of the potential. But if you're
Right.
sliding in my DMs with the intention of trying to date me, it's not going to end well for you.
Mhm. Right.
That was, it's accidental.
I see so many great comments on here, and people are asking, "Is the playback going to be available?" Someone asked that, could we can share it. So yeah, this is live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So what I'll do is I'll share out the YouTube link. That's probably going to be the easiest to share. LinkedIn lives are kind of clunky because you can't see all the comments all at once, but the YouTube link is something that can be shareable. Um, and I mean, people are like, "This is an important topic. Let's keep the conversation going." Are you on LinkedIn Audio yet, Leah? Are you one of the
No,
content?
they asked me if I
Okay.
wanted to do a beta tester, and I said yes, but I haven't had any response yet. Although to be honest, I haven't had the time, so I'm like up to here with things at the moment with moving house and everything. So it's been a bit
Yeah,
frantic.
busy times. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm curious, and I'm probably not going to get a response from anyone in the audience about this, but your point about if we report the comment to LinkedIn, we as the reporter will get an email back, an automated one saying right away, thanks, here's what will happen next. And then we'll get a decision email later on. I wonder if someone on here has ever had been reported to LinkedIn. What do you get back, if anything, from LinkedIn? Does LinkedIn send you a notification saying your comment has been removed? Does it give you
Yeah,
instructions?
yeah.
I'm
So I've had comments removed and
okay.
reinstated. I remember someone was posting about someone being mean, and I posted saying, "Oh, I hate when that happens. It makes me get stabby." And
Mhm.
because of the word stab, it had triggered, and or someone had reported it or something, and they sent me an email saying your comment's been removed, and then they sent me another email saying it's been reinstated. Sorry, because they realised that I wasn't actually threatening to stab anyone. So they do. If there's a report and there's no action taken from it, you don't the offender doesn't receive anything. But
Nothing.
if they do take action and remove something, you're notified, and then you only see the post with like red writing underneath it saying only you,
Okay.
this is only visible to you.
Yeah.
But I don't know about DMs because I've never sent an inappropriate DM.
I don't know. Well, interesting conversation, Leah, and I feel like we could probably talk for hours on this. Unfortunately, um, I wish there was an easier way that we can solve the problem, but I hope that today we brought more visibility. And I see that the chat's just really lighting up, and we're getting a lot of people watching this live. And I know there'll be people watching it in playback. Um, I do have a blog I wrote. It's called LinkedIn is not eHarmony, and I kind of outlined here are a few steps that you can take with regards to reporting and blocking, whether or not to respond. And some people even go into their public settings and they make themselves less visible on those things as well. But I want to just encourage, if anyone's watching this in playback, still leave a comment, because Leah and I will look at your comments later on today and in the days to follow as well. Leah, thank you so much for the conversation here today. I'm sorry we had to meet under these circumstances. It's our first time doing a live chat,
We'll
but
make sure we do it. We'll make sure we do a more light-hearted one at some point.
right. We will definitely have to do that. But I really enjoyed the conversation. I think there's a lot of good points that came out of it. I hope LinkedIn is watching. And again, just to reiterate, Leah and I, we both love LinkedIn. This is our business. This is our platform. We want to be supportive, and we'd like to help resolve this issue. We don't see it going away. It seems like, I think you even said at the beginning, it seems like it's been increasing over the past year, right?
Yeah, I mean, it might be because my profile visibility is increasing,
Could
but
be, right?
in general, I don't know if it's happening more or more women are more brave to talk
Vocal.
about it.
Yeah, could be. Well, at any rate, I hope this has helped folks that are watching. I want to just thank all of you so much for joining in on the conversation. I wasn't able to pull all of your comments up, but we saw you, and we'll look at those again later. And Leah, for folks that are looking to learn more about you, I think we talked about this earlier. You're reaching your connection limit, so I think your preference is to have people follow you, right?
Yes. If you
Okay,
follow
so
me and you can see my content, if you're planning to work with me, by all means, send a connection request. But just, or if you are sending a connection request, put a note with the connection request so I know why you want to connect, because that makes me more inclined to give you one of my last remaining spaces now. I don't know what to do when I hit that limit. I'm sort of in, I have no idea what I'm going to do
you'll have
about
to,
it.
like, start peeling people off, right?
I
Like,
know.
then it's more work going through that, so I'm just gonna put this on here. Follow Leah on LinkedIn. I'm gonna pull her LinkedIn URL up on screen right now. There we go, and I should have had the screen in the background here. Let me pull up your profile real quick in the background. Um,
Mhm.
just so you guys know when you go to her profile, it's the right person here, and
Lovely
as I am
rainbows.
doing that, we're getting, close to end of time here. Let me see. It's always tricky when you're doing this solo because you're doing piloting and co-piloting,
You
and
need
I'm trying to
Travis
like
Lochner.
try to tell people like what I'm doing. I love that you and I we use this bright pink color as part of our brand. I love the work that you're doing. I've been watching
Thank you.
you, and I'm like it's just so cool to see your visibility exploding in such a positive way. I want to say, Leah, I am so glad to know you. I'm glad that our paths have crossed. You've inspired me. You entertain me. You've helped so many people on the platform. So
Thank you. And likewise, it's great to sort of have other powerful women in the industry that I can look up to. So I really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me on. And for
yeah.
everyone who watched. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again, Leah. You guys have a wonderful day. Remember to leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this discussion, one last ask for you after the video's done, please click to share the video with your network because you never know who the message is going to reach and who the message is going to help. And we would greatly appreciate you passing that along. With that, have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you on another LinkedIn Live sometime in the near future. And in the meantime, we will see you on LinkedIn. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.